Hello, welcome to another amazing WOLFpak Live. We're a little bit early today. We are here with the one and only legendary Lee Priest. Let's give it up for Lee.
Hey, wave. There's the wave.
Lee is joining us today. We are going to talk about, well, who knows where the conversation is going to go, because you never know.
I want to bring this up. Like, I don't get cards, I don't get letters in the mail. When you get old, you get free bowel testing kits in the mail from the government. Thank you.
You said thank you.
Four easy steps that can save your life.
Oh, wow.
The commercial on TV, when the commercial comes on TV, it has a guy, wife, and they're talking about it. And he's like, I got to go to the toilet to poke my poo. I'm like, what a commercial. Poke my poo.
Do you actually box up your...
What you do is, I think they give you this paper that you put in the toilet. And so when you do a poo, that sits on the paper, then you get these little things in here. There's like two, like long...
You actually
let's open it together, shall we?
Oh my God! You mail your.
Let me go take a shit and do the test live.
No, you're gonna do that later. But I'm kind of curious about this. This is
Here we go. Here, look. Here. You got all this here.
This is what everyone came here for, right?
Yeah. Home kit instructions, and now you get these two little things here. See, and they have liquid in them. But this green top and that comes out, it almost looks like an eyelash curl, like your eyelash that you put your mascara on with.
Okay.
And it's got like those things on the end. You poke that in the poo, and then you put it back into the liquid, and you seal it up, and you send it off to them, and they check it to see if there's any blood or anything in your feces.
Okay, that sounds significantly better than what I was picturing.
Hey, my friend Jimmy, Jimmy the Bull from RX. Jimmy got this container, and the thing that you pull out and poke into poo, Jimmy tried to get a piece of poo and push it into the container.
He didn't read the instructions.
The top of the container is like this big, like a little hole. I said, how could you try and push shit into that thing?
Now, let me ask you this. Are you typically a instructions reader, or do you take something out and you just start putting it together?
No, I just put it together, and then at the end I have a few things left over. I'm like, well, I guess you don't need them.
Because you really read those instructions. Thank God. They made it kind of difficult, though. I mean, it doesn't sound like a very... Thank you, Lee. I really appreciate those graphics.
Hey, now this is all about life. People are going to need to get their colons checked and prostate. You get your prostate done, get your colon done, because 90% of people are saved if they detect it early enough. This is your health message from Lee Priest today.
You know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I am like poking a little bit of fun, but I will also tack on that you're 100% right.
Exactly.
We need to we need to take care of our health, and I'm glad that you got that, and I hope that I'm going to follow up with you and make sure that you.
And for the women out there, make sure you get your pap smears done regularly too for cervical cancer as well. So
this has been a piece.
I don't want to be just all about males here and make like we have the problems.
From Lee Priest. Thank you very much.
From what I see on TV commercials, you women have a lot of problems. You have the periods, you have the cervical cancer, you just have other stuff going on down there. I'm thinking, why do they put all these women's ads on TV about all the problems they have down there?
Yeah, it's a lot of problems. You wouldn't know about it. But we all have problems, right?
I've been around long enough to see it. You're a fucking mess.
We're all a mess. Well, speaking of a mess,
yes,
you show every side of yourself. You've been honest. You've been real. This is why everybody loves you so much. This is why everybody
or hates me. They love or hate me.
If they hate you, they love to hate you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's entertaining too, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You have a documentary coming out, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Now tell us a little bit about that, and then I'm going to show the trailer for that.
Well, I did a documentary a while ago with Generation 9, and I wasn't too happy with it because they said before they released it, I could have a look at it and things I didn't like could change. And the name of it was Lee Priest versus bodybuilding, or Lee Priest versus whatever. I just didn't like that name. It made out like there was this big me against the organization and stuff. And a lot of people they interviewed, like Kurt Miller. I known him for over 20 years. He was like a brother to me, training partners and that. All the people that really know me, they didn't put on there. And they just put on people like Jay was on that one. But I didn't really know Jay that well then. So that's just like, it wasn't really done the best. I wasn't happy with it. And then Gary Phillips, he did Chris Cormier's documentary, and I really liked it. So I spoke to him. So over the last 2 years, they've just been interviewing a lot of people and that. And I saw a rough copy of it. It went for a bit over 2 hours, like 2 hours 20. But I like it because I'm not on it much. It's just other people talking about me. So, but it was sort of done in a way where it's sort of funny, Nat. So it's one of those, you know, if you ever watch a movie that goes for 2 hours, but because it's entertaining, it only seems like an hour and a half. It doesn't seem like it's boring.
Oh, yeah.
So no, it's done really good. So I'll be happy when it does come out.
It's Lee Priest, Rebel with a Cause.
What is that cause?
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Live television. We can't edit that out.
COVID.
Excuse me. People in the other room are laughing at me right now.
Jesus, look at me. I just put it on here so I can see the comments. I just looked at myself. Jesus, I look like a mess. I was out in the yard and doing yard work and playing with the dogs. I look like a wreck. That's okay.
You think that you look like a wreck right now?
Yeah.
No. Here's the
I was just dumbfounded that someone could get that big.
He was the newest, freakiest, most impressive phenom that anyone had ever seen.
You would just keep rewinding the video because you're like, how the fuck can a man look like this?
He had the biggest arms I've ever seen on a human being.
The roundness. It's like someone would draw a cartoon caricature. It didn't look like it belonged on his body.
Probably the best times in the history of bodybuilding.
This guy could possibly win an Olympia down the road, you know?
I think my first Olympia could have been 94 or 95, but I got suspended that year and couldn't do it. So I think I'd been suspended my first year as a pro. So.
A lot of people have a valve between their brain and their mouth. And Lee wasn't blessed with that.
Lee didn't give a shit. Lee Priest would tell you like it was, right to your face.
I love him for it. A lot of people respect him. Yeah, but a lot of people can't handle the truth.
That's when I realized this guy talks a lot of shit.
He's a little too fucking crazy sometimes.
I kind of liked it about him, but I also found it frustrating.
Yeah, I think he's got in a lot of trouble.
Lee had this rebellious streak in him. If you tell him don't do something, he's going to do it.
At the press conference, he was not afraid to call out all the judges.
I was like, what did he do? Oh, no.
Lee's mouth definitely affected his ability to earn, his ability to gain contracts, his ability to probably win competitions in close decisions.
Would Lee have placed higher if he kept his mouth shut? I think Lee would have placed a lot higher.
You know, a 212er, Lee would have been a multi-Mr. Olympia, unbeatable.
I said, you arrived. This is your best ever. If you keep bringing in the conditioning like you did at this show, you're going to be a top 3 Olympian. And that's how good he was.
You would have fucked that class up. Only politics would have kept him out.
Most of his opinions and thoughts and ideas were positives for the industry, positives for his fellow competitors.
And we felt like prize money could have been bigger, should have been bigger.
First time he did something in the magazine and told the federation that we should have a union, and there were some things said, and you know, the first thing Lee did was like this. And they put it in the magazine. I was like, that's the guy for us right there.
Flex versus Lee Priest. When it's off camera, it's like, I want to kick this fucking ass. And then I'll say, yeah, I want to kick your fucking ass. I had shredded glutes. You didn't have fucking shredded glutes.
There was no growth hormone. I mean, I was giving him everything he was taking.
Proof of why I thought I was so much better than Lee Priest.
They said Lee Priest is a racist. Man, okay.
Lee is an equal opportunity offender.
Lee Priest will be probably the most suspended bodybuilder from the IFBB ever. And one of the most incredible short bodybuilders of all time.
Did you catch what he said?
Yeah.
One of the most incredible short bodybuilders of all time.
Couldn't just be bodybuilder. The guy on before him is Mike Hammer. If you're ever in Vegas, I think it's the Four Aces down in Fremont Street, the old part of Vegas. He's a magician there. He's like really funny comedian magician. And he also does openings for Chris Angel and that. When I was out there, I went to see Chris Angel with him and went backstage. But Mike Hammer, if you're ever there in Vegas, go see him. He's very funny, and he's one of those, he picks on the audience and he plays with them and stuff, but he's really good at magic too, so really nice guy.
I love that kind of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought that trailer was a really good montage, and I honestly cannot wait to see it after watching that. But before I ask you some questions about some of the things that were said, what did you think of it? What did you think of the trailer? What do you think of the upcoming documentary? How do you feel about it going? Because you haven't even had a chance to see it yet, right?
Well, actually, I did see a rough copy of it a few months back, but it was only like not all put together with photos, you know, not everyone was on it yet. So I did see a rough copy of it. And like I said, I enjoy it because I'm not on it that much. So it's just other people talking about me. And it's entertaining because of what they say and stuff like that. So it's pretty, I think people will like it. It's not like because I said when I saw it, it was about 2 hours, 30 minutes long. And they're like, oh, we've got to make it shorter. I'm like, listen, if you're going to cut anyone out, cut me out, but leave everybody else on because it's entertaining. And even though it's 2.5 hours or 2 hours 20, it only seemed like a bit over an hour because, you know, if you watch a long movie and it's entertaining, you don't know the time's gone by. So, yes, I hope they don't cut too much out and leave it how it is. So it's pretty good to watch.
I know. It's always like there's always like the uncut version and then the cut version. You know, it seemed like the majority of everybody, even the ones that said, you know, something critical about you, I can feel the sense of everybody. You're very beloved. Like even like the critical players in this documentary, like, you know, you heard Jay Cutler say that, you know, what you said like held you back, and
which is good they said that. I'm happy they said that because I'd always talk about the politics in the sport and they're like, there's no politics, but nearly everyone on there agrees that if I kept my mouth shut, I would have done better. And I'm like, well, you just proved there's politics because I should be judged on how I look, not what I say. I could say whatever I want as long as I'm not offending the judges or people personally. If I'm just talking about the organization saying it doesn't treat the athletes well, okay, but on the day of the show, if I look good, you shouldn't be like, oh, he said that about the IFBB. Nah, we're going to place him here. So I should have been judged on how I look, not on what I said. So they just proved that there was politics. And even on other things too, I think Jay talks about too, where he says that back then, I think on that same clip, he goes into it more about he wasn't outspoken because he wanted the, you know, with his career and stuff. And then he talks about now he's retired. Jay's a bit more vocal about the sport and stuff like that, how he even at this year's Olympia, he didn't go to the pre-judging, I think, because he said he wasn't happy with last year, how they treated the athletes and made them wait. So that's why when I was in it, I tell the people, when you're in the sport and you're at the top, that's when you have to stand up for everybody. Yeah, you can do it when you're retired, but if you do it while you're in the sport, and like I said, I could have kept my mouth shut because I was making great money with contracts and stuff, but it wasn't about me. It's about the other athletes who train just as hard, who are professional, and they're not making $1. They're having to pay for their hotel, they're having to pay for their flights and stuff like that. And that shouldn't be happening when you go on to some of these big shows. So I would speak out against it. And everyone would come up to me later and go, Lee, we agree with what you said. I'm like, then stand up with me. Oh, no, we'll get in trouble. I'm like, how can we all get in trouble? I said, if they suspend all of us, there is no contest. So
I want to show something that you said, and I want to ask you a question after we watch this because this is, well, watch.
Compared to what bodybuilding has done for Bob. So, like I said, I've made a good career and living from bodybuilding, yes. But like I said, it wasn't from playing the games. It wasn't from doing whatever. It's just from me being me. I competed where I wanted to compete. I did what I wanted to do. I said what I wanted to say. And like I said, yes, it could land me in trouble. Yes, it could get me suspended, but I didn't change for no one, thinking about the almighty dollar like Bob does. Sits down and plays it political.
Okay, we're not talking about other people. The reason I want to show you that clip, is because the thing that makes you really stand out from the pack, right, is I think like in general, whether it's like our job, whether it's, you know, something that we're trying to succeed in, whatever it is, like our sport that we're competing in, I think that, you know, just our human instincts and what we're trained to do is we want to we want to make sure that we don't upset anybody who could impact our result. We don't want to upset anybody who could potentially, you know, there could be a consequence later on down the line. And we're always trying to play this like subconscious 3D chess with our future and whatever that is. The thing about you is that you were aware that you were taking a risk. You're aware that you were doing something that other people weren't doing, and you were potentially going to take the sword. I think that that's why people admire you so much, because you did it anyway. You stood up for yourself. You stood up for the athletes, and you never backed down. You never pulled back on your opinions. And that is so rare. And there's not many people across the board in anything in life that I don't have the courage to do that. Most people don't. And I think that's what makes you really stand out. You know what I mean?
I think I've always been that way. Because it was like, even when I said I was making roughly 18,000 a month back then in the 90s, you know, but then when I got suspended and everything, I went down to 4,000 because MD and all those people were told to dump my contract because I was suspended, and they did and stuff. But even then, I was like, even with 4,000 a month, I could still pay my rent, had food on the table, I could still train. So even though it was a big loss in money, I could still do what I loved. And if I had to get a normal job working, it wouldn't have bothered me getting a normal job working. I've worked normal jobs before, cleaning factories, doing whatever. But I've always been that way, not even just in bodybuilding, it's around people in general. Because I think people are that way now too, whether it be on the internet or in life. If they go like, say they're at the Olympia and there's a group of people over here, some people just can't be themselves because they're thinking, if I be my true self, they won't like me. I have to act a certain way with them. But then when they go to this group, they act a different way with them. I'm just the same wherever I go. And it's like, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. This is who I am. I'm not going to change my beliefs or who I am just to fit into your group and be accepted by you. So I'm just going to be, I've always been that way. And my mum, like I said, when I was younger, you'd tell a few lies. And then I lied about something once and I got the biggest belt. She goes, never lie again. So from that point on, I always told the truth. And when I do articles and do stuff in the magazines, my mum would call me up and go, maybe you've been a little bit too truthful. I'm like, that's either all or nothing. I'm not going to halfway go. So if I tell a story about what I've done, something sexually, or if I've done the drugs back in the day, or to commit suicide, I'm going to tell the whole truth and the whole story. That way, I've always found people like, why do you do that, Lee? I'm like, because that way no one can ever hold anything over my head. It's like, you know, when I did that one story once and people try and bring it up and get me, they go, Lee had a guy blow him once. I'm like, well, that's not the story really. I said, I was in a threesome with my ex-wife at the time, and she was riding the guy and I was standing beside the bed, and all of a sudden I felt someone sucking my dick, and I looked down and it was him. And you know, I told this on Dave's show, and Dave's like, well, why didn't you stop him? I said, because if I stopped him, he might have thought I was homophobic. And plus two, I was fucked up at the time. So I just figured in the moment, I just went with the flow. So people are like, oh, Lee had a guy blowing. I'm like, well, you know, it just in the moment it happened. And they're like, that's why I always laugh, because if I'm going to tell stories like that, but I'll tell my gear use, right? Where are you going? Come back. I tell my gear usage, right? And I say, this is what I use. People go, Lee's lying about his gear use. Took more. I'm thinking, why would I say a guy blew me, but I'm going to lie about my fucking dosage on steroids, for God's sakes?
Oh my gosh. So
and all you guys out there, let me tell you, in a dark room, you wouldn't know the fucking difference if they don't have a beard or mustache. A warm mouth is a warm mouth. Trust me.
Okay.
You don't get those type of do you?
Oh my gosh. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. I gotta cool off after that. Oh my gosh, Lee. Wow. Thanks for adding so much entertainment to this. I really appreciate it.
I told you I'm an open book. But the thing is though, like, just say I didn't tell that story. And the guy who did that, imagine if he called me up and goes, Lee, if you don't give me $1,000, I'm going to tell people years ago I was in a threesome with you and I blew you. This way,
I'll tell everybody. I don't care.
I'll be like, go ahead. I've already told the story 100 times. So this way, if I tell everything, no one can ever blackmail me about what I've done.
Smart. You don't owe anyone any money. You are like, I'm an open book.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's what I said. My mum says I'm too open, but hey.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you are enjoying your life. I don't really know what else to say to that.
You're back to the documentary, Wendy.
Oh
Keep
my
on track.
Did you share that? Did you share that story on the documentary?
I don't know if I did on that one that time, but I've told on other podcasts before when things.
Well, the cat is out of the bag, or something's out of the bag. Anyway, moving on. So we are going to just move right along, and I do want to actually point out another kind of situation. You were at an Olympia press conference, okay, and this clip, I'm going to kind of resurface it because I don't know if this is in the documentary.
Well, with this clip too, I brought up the whole thing about this, and then I told the thing about it with Wayne and the letter, because the year before, Milos was talking about all the athletes from 10th down never got any prize money, and I said they should. And Wayne told him that year, put it in writing, and he didn't. So I put it in writing, and I went to Wayne beforehand, because the athlete's rep, I won't say his name, said, you staged all that. The thing wasn't staged. The thing was, I told Wayne I was going to give him the letter because I wanted all the athletes. And Wayne just said, Lee, because, Wayne's all about promotion and that.
Yeah.
He goes, listen, just hand it to me at the press conference. It'll make it more of a show. The wrestlers had a go back and forth. And that's the thing too. Back in the day, I said to the IFBB, rather than suspend me and shit, why don't you just play along with it? Good guy, bad guy. Lee says this, the IFBB says that back. Like the wrestling had it down pat with, you love these people, you hate those ones. There was always this rivalry. Yeah. And Wayne knew that. So Wayne played on it. Wayne goes, Lee, listen, instead of giving it to me now, bring it up at the press conference and we'll just do whatever. And I said, Lee, put it in writing and then just hand me the letter at the press conference, which I did. And from that point on, everybody got $2,000 who wasn't in the top 10. So.
No way. Well, let's watch that clip because that actually adds context to this, which is perfect. That's interesting.
And it goes back to the money issue. I've read in muscular development and on the internet that you have been planning on sharing your prize money with the athletes that place out of the prize money. And I was wondering if you were still planning on doing that and if you have any animosity towards the IFBB for it coming down to one athlete having to provide for the others.
I don't have any animosity towards the IFBB at all, but this is the Mr. Olympia, the biggest show supposedly in bodybuilding, and the Arnold Classic can give out every prize money to all the competitors, and the GNC this year is giving out prize money to every competitor. So when you have a show like the Olympia where people have to qualify to be here, and you have the guy who came 15th, 16th training just as hard as me, and I get money and he doesn't, I just don't see it's fair. So if I'm placing in the money, yes, I will give them some of my prize money. So.
On that subject, those of you who were here last year know that Milos and I got into a little discussion. It's all in fun. But what I said to him is put it in writing. Now, all he had to do was put it in writing, but he didn't. In fact, not one person of the athletes, of any fan, no one put it in writing to us. We'd like a proposal to the pro division that prize money be given all the way down. That's what I asked Milos to do.
I did sit up.
Lee, you said too, right? You said that if I don't get the money, you're going to stand up and walk out of here.
Yeah, I will. but I did sit up last night and I did put it in writing, so.
And it was funny because after that, he talks about Kerry Kay's also. I think the IFBB put in 1,000 and Kerry Kay's from Dory Nutrition back then put in 1,000. So everyone got 2,000. But about 20 minutes after that, Sean and Bob come in and they start talking to Wayne, and Sean starts going on about, Wayne, what about the athletes out of the top 10 don't get money? And Wayne's like, Sean, you should have been here 20 minutes ago. Lee and I have already discussed that. If you see the full press conference, you see Wayne telling Sean, you should have been here 20 minutes ago. Lee and I have already sorted that out.
Wow. See, I am so glad that I brought that up because it changes a little bit with the context. It's not staged, but I think it was smart to have it planned out the way that it was.
I think, like I said, if I just done it gave it to Wayne. Then Wayne goes, okay, we'll give everyone 2,000. I think Wayne wanted to do it that way, so at the press conference he could make the announcement. The IFBB plus Kerry K's are going to put the money in, so people from 10th down get 2,000. He wanted to make the announcement there rather than, just doing it another way.
What is it like in you that gives you that like courage and strength to speak your mind like this? I know that's like sounds like a silly question, but it's such a crazy concept to think of going against the grain and risking.
Yeah, you sound like my wife. Wife sometimes sits here, she goes, "You're so lucky." But I said, "Why?" She goes, "I wish I could be like you. You just say what's on your mind." I said, "Well, you can." She goes, "I could never talk like that at work," and stuff like that. I said, "You can. Even though you're manager of a store, if a customer pisses you off, just tell them to fuck off to another shop." I would. I'd be terrible. And imagine me.
You wouldn't be very good at it, I don't think.
I'd be good, but I wouldn't take, because I've been in the store sometimes when I go to pick her up and she'll be just finishing up and some customers come in and I mean like rude as I got to stand there and bite my lip. I'm just like, I'm thinking, I'd be like, oh.
Well, I mean, for you, in a situation like that where you're not just standing up for yourself, but there's this weight of knowing that you're in a position where you can really represent a bigger group, bigger than just yourself. You were at the top of your game. You were talked about as being one of the top Olympians. A lot of people predicted you to be, one of the top 3 guys. And you went into that Olympia with the idea that, I might win a lot of money. And you were really, you felt that, like, you felt like that was a position of leadership and a role that you were playing. And you wanted to be able to exercise that in a way that I haven't seen anybody ever.
Too, I think there's interviews too and other ones where I used to stand up for the women's a lot too, because I'd always be on their side because, I was married to Kathy for 5 years, Kathy LaFrancois, and I would see like them, the women would bust their ass hard like the men when they had the women's Miss Olympia and stuff. Yeah. And I used to say, look, they don't get paid what they deserve, because then I'd see like these other classes, what did they have back then? They had the fitness and was it the figure back then? I'm thinking, yeah, okay, that's nice. But I'm thinking these bodybuilding women are busting their ass. Yes, these girls train hard, but, it's a different level when you talk to like the Linda Murrays or the Iris Kyles, different type of training.
Definitely.
And for them to get like $20,000 and a bikini girl to get $50,000, I was just like, come on, that's just not right there. So I'd always stand up for the women saying they'll get shit on. And then back then it was like the women were getting bigger. They were told to lose 20% of their muscle, and Kathy and a lot of the girls did. But then they rewarded the big girls. It's like, what are you doing? You tell them to do one thing, and then you don't reward them doing it. So the women are confused on, you want me to come in hard? You want me to come in soft? You want me to come in small? You want me to come in bigger? So,
well, let me ask you this. Okay, I mean, because it is a business. If it were your business, right, and you were trying to have the most successful business that you possibly could, and you had all these multiple divisions, and you were trying to sell tickets to, your show because it's your business, and people you were selling tickets for majority of certain divisions, like open bodybuilding, maybe bikini, maybe like, these are the divisions that people are the most interested in. So how, as a business owner, how would you deal with that? Would you still feel that everybody should be completely even across the board? Or because that's the pushback on that, is that it's like considered a business, and you know what I mean?
If it's a business, I'd definitely give back then it was mainly just the men's open, the women's open. Yeah. I think they had, was it fitness or something back then with the routines and stuff? Yeah. So I would definitely be giving more money to the people that bring in the money, and back then though, women's bodybuilding was big. It had its own, whether it be just fans, you had even the schmo type fans, the perverted type ones, but women's bodybuilding could fill a hall by itself. If you had the Miss Olympia by itself, it would be packed out because people did come and see it. But where the IFBB shot himself in the foot was the same with the men's bodybuilding. To me, there was never a reason to start classic division, because men's bodybuilding back then, when you had the Bob Paris, Barry DeMay, even Paul Dillette, as big as he was, he had a nice symmetrical body. The judges let it get out of control with the big stomachs and that. And then it was like all the bodybuilders think, to win shows, we've got to get bigger and look like that. The same with the women's. Once they saw the women's was getting too big, why keep rewarding those big women? You should have said, listen, tone it down. And the woman that come in the biggest, if she had got 5th place, she might have gone like, shit, I'm too big. I got to drop some size. So if you let it get out of control, it's hard.
It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the jar tube though, because once it's
that's why I had to start making all these other divisions.
And then I mean, it's like once it gets to that level, it's so hard to backtrack it. So then they're like,
I shouldn't have got to that, because even the men's, we had rules where we all got letters and they said, if you got a distended stomach, you're going to get deducted points. And they never did that. So it's like, well, why make these rules and not enforce them? And now you've let it get out of control. Like you said, you can't bring it back now. So, okay, we'll make a classic division now. Or now they had the, they'd start with the bikini division or the women's physique rather than the open. That it was like a smaller version. It's like, you wouldn't have had to make those classes if you had to keep the other classes in control.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a solution.
Some are, but I think, sometimes it gets to a point where you're making too many classes. That's why I said I don't agree with the 212, because Hardy, Derek, they're all 212 guys that won the Olympia, proving you can be a lighter weight bodybuilder and grow and still win it. To me, you're just like, okay, you made a 212 class. What are you going to do now? Make a 190 class for the guys who can't be 212?
Yeah.
Like, no other sport do they do that. And like, okay, in the amateurs you have weight classes, or I'd rather see the Mr. Olympia be 5'6" and under, and 5'6" and over, or 5'7". That way, even if you're up to 5'6", you can weigh what you want to weigh. At least you're the same height as everybody else. But yet, like I said, it's just crazy because they just dumb it down. You go to the Olympics where Usain Bolt would run 9 seconds something. I can't run that. They're not going to go, well, don't worry, Lee. We've got a 15-second class that you can run in and still compete.
Well, I have a question for you, because I happen to think that Keon Pearson has one of the most incredible physiques honestly, like in the entire IFBB, and he's a 212 champion.
Yeah.
What do you? How do you think he would do in the open?
Right now, I think Harry looked at the 212 this year. I think he would have been in the top 10, maybe between 6th and 10th somewhere. But I reckon you give him another year or two. Like, see, being in the 212, it's going to hold him back. Once he decides to go open and he just lets himself grow and doesn't have to put a weight cap on it, I see him win. Like, if Derek can win the Olympia, to me, he's got a better physique than Derek. That's not taking nothing away from Derek. To me, I think Keon's standing there, muscle-wise, symmetry-wise, is better than Hardy. If those guys can win the Olympia, Keon can easily win an open Olympia. I think Flex Lewis, if he didn't get injured or didn't, he was going to do the open, I think Flex Lewis could have easily won an open Olympia. So to me, the 212
Flex Lewis? I hear you guys have a little bit of a banter, and he just
that's been going on for years, because people always said, if you and Lee competed together, who would win? I always say him, he always says me, but we always just go back and forth. So.
Yeah, speaking of which,
I'd always joke around him, because it's like, listen, the 212 class was the dwarf class. It's like I stood with the giants. I said, you played with all the dwarfs. I had to.
You did. Would you have done 212 if it was available?
I might have, but then to me, it's like being in the open was more of a challenge.
Yeah.
I think if I was around everyone my same weight and that, yes, it's still competitive, but yet being that same weight, I'd prefer to be like it. To me, it'd be like, even if like when I got second to someone like Chris Cormier or something like that, or I beat Chris when I was 199, Chris was 260. He outweighed me by 60 pounds and I beat him. So to me, that's more of an accomplishment than beating someone. If I'm 210 and someone's 28, I'd rather go against and, like you said, bring the big guys down to earth. Like, Ronnie still talks about, never got over it, me beating him. So
no, I like that you're bringing that up. I want to hear really fast. Let's hear Jay and Flex talking about you, because I thought this is an interesting conversation.
I remember John Cena was working the front desk at one point. I was there, and I got to mingle with a lot of the top pros. And Lee Priest was just coming on the scene at the time. I know you guys kind of have this little rivalry because who's the better? Like
I always say Lee. He always says me.
Yeah. So he was unbelievable.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Listen, no lie, if you said to me, I've seen Ronnie Coleman, obviously I competed with him. No one could ever blow your mind like Lee Priest looked when he was 21 years old.
Fucking nuts, right?
I walked in the gym and I remember like looking at him and saying, how is that even possible? He could barely walk. His legs were so big. I think he almost downsized as his career went on, but he was massive.
I think he was
So did you downsize?
I'm glad Jay said blow your mind and nothing else there. No one could blow you like Lee Priest could.
He didn't need to because you did. You said it for him. Oh my gosh. Thanks for the reminder. Anyway. All right. So I have to ask you, did you downsize as you continued?
Well, I didn't go to extremes. It's like I was happy with how I looked. Like I said, I only used growth hormone twice my whole career. I never did insulin. So I was never one of those to push the envelope and really, like I said, I had one guy help me out once. And whenever I took testosterone, I'd use 400 milligrams. He suggested I take 800. So I did for a couple of weeks and I just felt like garbage. I just felt shit. You know, if you're on gear and you're dieting, you just feel like something's not right inside. You just feel that sort of sickly feeling. So I went back to the 400. I felt good. So I was never a big abuser of gear. So maybe if I had to push the envelope and gone crazy, used insulin, maybe I could have been a little bit better. But then at what cost? You know, it's like,
your proportions were already so, I mean, you were like, it's like, I don't even know how much more size you could have put on your frame and still had such an aesthetic shape. You know what I mean?
And so to me, I love the bodybuilding and the training, the competing. Like I said, I did for the fans, and because contractually you had to do so many shows a year. So that's the main reason why I competed in that. But overall, it wasn't to win shows. So to me, where some people are like, I have to win the Olympia and I'll do it no matter what the cost. To me, if I got top 10 in those lineups back then, I always aim for 10th place. That's why when you see a lot of videos, those Battle for the Olympias, I'll be joking with the photographer saying, don't talk to me. I'm training for 8th place right now and stuff like that. I never said I was going to win because I knew I'd never win. So if my mind was set on getting 10th, and when I got 6th or 5th, I'm like, that's a bonus to me. I had my mind set 10th and I got 6th place in an open Olympia. So I was always happy with my placing. So I never thought that I really wanted to go crazy and push the envelope to get bigger or do better.
Yeah. So somebody was wondering why I don't answer the questions. This person, Night Rider, wants to know about you going on the RX after hours. And I don't know,
Night Rider is a dick puller. He just, every time he goes, Lee says he's not going to go on the shows anymore. Occasionally I'll watch the show and I just make a comment. He gets all upset. Lee said he wasn't going to come on. He's making the show all about him, blah, blah. Night Rider is a dick rider. So he comes, and here he is here. He hates me, but here he is here commenting again.
He doesn't hate you. He's been commenting a lot. This is
every time I go on after hours, he'll see I'm on there and he'll just start saying Lee's here. He's going to make the show about him. Then all he does is talk about me. I'm like, I don't have to do anything. You're making the show about me by talking about me. So Night Rider, the best thing to do is don't give me attention and I'll go away. But for someone who doesn't like me, you follow me on everything I go on. So thank you, Night Rider. Finish the job and log off. As long as I bring you joy, Night Rider.
I'm glad that you told me. All right, so we're gonna delete him. Interesting. This actually brings me into an interesting point. You are so good at this, and you could definitely give me some advice on this, and also other people. But I do notice that it's interesting to me, and now that I've been doing a lot of podcasts more, and I'm out and about a lot more. There are those people that they consistently comment on everything that you produce, like every piece of content. And sometimes I'll put out something that's like an hour long and the comments will be like something that has to do with the very end of that whole hour. So that means that person watched the entire hour, right? Sat from beginning to finish. And to me, like, you have to really be someone's fan to be consuming that much of their content. There's no other explanation, right?
I always said that your haters, trust me, your haters are your biggest fans, because why would you sit there and watch it? When I do those podcasts with Dave and that, or even these type, and they go, oh, here's Lee talking shit. He said this, he said that. It's like, well, if it says Lee Priest in the title and you don't like me, why watch it? That'd be like me flicking around TV and go, oh, I hate Kardashians. I hate that show, but I'm going to watch it. Oh, look at Kim. She's like, oh, God, I hate this family. Why would I watch it if I don't?
God, I hate this so much. Watch.
Trust me, they talk shit, but if they're watching, they're your big fans. And like I said, if you don't like someone, why would you follow them? Why do you come on and talk about them? So
Yeah. Have you ever had like a
thank you
moment?
for the views. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the comments.
Yeah.
Keep commenting.
Have you ever had a moment of self-reflection and awareness before where you're watching something yourself? You don't say anything out loud or make comments, because I'm not one of those people. If I don't like something, I just don't, whatever. But sometimes I have found myself consistently like watching a certain type of content. I'm like, God, but I'm watching it. I must like it. Like I have had those moments where I have like this aha moment for myself where I'm talking shit to myself and then I talk back to myself and I'm like, Wendy, you keep consuming this. What are you doing? Like do something else with your time,
Well, I'm like that when I hear that, when people play gaming and people watch them play gaming.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking stupid. People sit there and watch people play video games, and I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. But James Hollingshed, he does that and he goes live. And because I know James from the bodybuilding world, I watch him because I can comment to him while he's playing.
Yeah.
Talk back and forth, so it makes it fun. So, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm sitting here watching James play stupid battle games on the thing, and I'm just commenting to him, because I think if you know someone, then it's different rather than just watching somebody I didn't know. But yeah, I'm the same. It's like there's things I see that come up in my feed, and I might not like it, but I don't comment on it. But it seems like people, they feel the need, they have to give their opinion on everything. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. But it just scroll by people. You don't have to give your opinion on everything that pops up on your feed. Just scroll by. It's just like,
Can you imagine if back when you're fighting the good fight, even more than you are now, you were active in the organization, you were at the top of your game. Can you imagine if YouTube and Instagram and everything was available? Like what would be of Lee Priest?
God knows. God knows. I might have been like the Sam Sulik of my day back then, because
you would have.
I ate junk food. If I filmed everything I ate back then, people would be amazed. But I just find it's funny because I've been training and competing for 40 years. So it's like in all those years, I've never had somebody come up to my face and say the stuff they say online. Because to me, it's like, let's take the internet away. Okay, let's just say the internet's there and somebody posts something and then all of a sudden, you're a fuckwit dickhead. Why would you say that? He sucks, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's get rid of the internet, and you're at a diner somewhere. You're in a booth here, they're in a booth here. Now, that family behind you's talking, and you're like, oh, my God, listen to them. Look at the shit they're saying. You're not going to turn around and go, you fucking dickheads. That's a load of bullshit. It's like in person, nobody would ever say it. No. But if that same conversation was online, they'd write back to them. So it's like, so it's just like, if you're not going to say it in person, don't fucking put it online. Like I said, when I do my lives on Instagram, people come on, they start talking shit. So I go, okay, invite them on. I invite them on. Declined. I'm like, if you're going to come on here and abuse me, at least come on and like sit where we are now. At least I can see who you are. Abuse me face to face. It'll be fun. But yet they will talk all that crap. But when I invite them on, they won't come on camera to say it. So
come on,
now you just made yourself look like a little bitch because you're calling me out. You're saying all this shit. And now when I invite you to come on and talk to me, you're declining. So it's like, you just look like a little bitch now. So
tells you everything that you need to know.
Exactly. At least come on and have fun with me and joke around and go back and forth. It's like.
Have you seen that guy Goob on social media? His name is Goob. And he like he calls people out when they Photoshop, and
I think I've seen it come up once or twice, but to me, when I see people doing those videos, I'm like, look, most people Photoshop these days. Who cares? Yeah. But they have a whole channel about it. I'm like, who gives a fuck? It's like, when back with Wheeler back in the day, I remember going up there and Flex Wheeler was on the cover of a magazine. And back then they were making his waist smaller. I'm thinking, Flex already has a small waist. So they were editing photos back then in the 90s.
Yeah.
I said, who gives a shit? I said, on the day of the show, you're going to see how they look on stage. It's like, why do people, it's like when they used to do is this person natural or not? Is this one natty or not? I'm like, who gives a shit? I'm like, you people are wasting too much time worrying about what people are doing.
But let me tell you, there was one situation where somebody had taken a stage shot where I was standing next to this individual, and she Photoshopped herself next to me and posted it. What do you think about that? I mean, does that not matter? I mean, because then you have like your army of people that are team that person saying you got robbed, like, and it's like not even a real photo. Do you see what I'm saying?
But there are those sort of things that, as long as you've got those sort of things I find are stupid because the real photo's there. So why somebody does that? If you're the only one that had that photo and did that and go, look, I look better.
Exactly.
If people go, wait a minute, this is the real photo. You photoshopped yours.
Yeah.
So then you just look like an idiot. So I don't know why people do that.
Right. Or I've seen like where somebody will like Photoshop themselves and then it makes the person next to them like all skewed or something like that. Like,
or they'll make them like that little bit closer so they look bigger. Yes.
Yes. But it's gone a little
like, I don't know why they do it. It's like, just be yourself because come contest time, you can't hide it when you're on stage. That's when it matters. Yeah. That's why I don't get into all these photos preview leading up to a contest because the only pictures that matter are how you look on the day of the show. Up until then, you can get the right lighting, shading. Shit, even me looking as shitty as I do. There's some hotels I go to and I get out the shower. You got that overhead lighting. I'm thinking, fuck, I could compete again. Then I walk to the other mirror and go, no, you can't. So anyone can look good by himself in the mirror with the right lighting. Trust me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is actually going to trace back to something that you had said earlier. You're talking about you're on a live. Somebody is talking shit and you invite them to come on the live with you. And what I was going to say about that Goob guy, I just saw this post come up and it was crazy because somebody had gone on his post and said something mean about his girlfriend, who's absolutely stunning. She's absolutely beautiful, beautiful body and everything like that. And he looked up the person that had made the comment and he just went ham on tearing this woman apart. And it was so crazy. I mean, for a lot of people, that would be a little bit over the top, but that's taking it to the next level.
I have done that. People go like, Lee, why do you get personal? It's like, look, I'll just play with that person who's attacking me. But then I've had them bring my mother into it, my daughter into it. And once they do, then the gloves are off. I'll go through their page. If it's open, I'll talk about what retarded kids they fucking have. Their kids look retarded. They shouldn't have had kids. They should have aborted them. I'll go whole into it. I'll rip into the whole family. If he's got family photos.
Don't mess with your family.
I'll do it. If they bring mine into it, I'll just, but I still do it in fun. But yet people go, Lee, why are you talking about his kids? I'm like, because he's got photos of his retarded kids on his Instagram page. I'm allowed to talk about them. Look at them. They look like they're fucking downies. It's like, I don't care. I'll just go.
No, nothing said in this expresses the views of Wendy Fortino. These are 100% the views of Lee Priest, not Wendy Fortino.
You think it, you just don't say it.
Protecting myself here.
That is a question. And nothing against Down syndrome people, but I'd like to know, no matter where you go in the world, I could see a Down syndrome person here in Australia, then in America, and they look like twins. Why is that, I wonder? Like, if I've known a few Down syndrome people, and yet they actually look like they're from the same family. I wonder if it's like a gene thing that when they do have Down syndrome, that gene must make them, they look very similar, like they're related.
It is a gene, something that has to do with a gene mutation. Yeah, it's an unfortunate.
And then speaking of that too, how they look alike, that's my other pet hate too, twins. You know, when there's two twins, we finish each other's sentences. We know each other so well. Oh, fuck, I hate when they go on like that. But you know what pisses me off the most is? When a twin loses the other twin. Oh, I'm so upset. It's like losing this. I'm thinking, bullshit. I said, if I lose my sister, we look nothing alike. I'm going to miss my sister forever. You lost your twin. Go look in the mirror, you dickhead. There she is again. She's
Lee,
right in front
what
of you.
is up with you right now? Lee, I have a twin sister, so be careful.
Well, there you go. It's like
I do. I have a twin sister.
Because you can look in the mirror, she's always going to be there.
Come on.
My sister's not going to be there if I look in the mirror, is she?
Don't be like that. I think that loss is real for everyone. I'll just say that. I think that whoever is close to you, it's gonna feel, you know, it's gonna feel like a big loss.
You're missing the
God,
joke.
this got dark fast.
You can still talk to yourself in the mirror and finish your sentence. They've never really left, Wendy. They're always.
That's actually. Well, we don't really look a lot alike, but we're fraternal.
Identical twins where they look exactly alike.
But you know, you do make a point, but at the same time, it's definitely not the same thing.
The point is made in joke too, people. By the way, so
I get the joke. I get the joke. I'm not actually offended. I just, you went down a little bit of a dark road there, though.
Well, that's not dark for me. If you want to go down the dark road,
We have more.
It's now being cancelled from
You
YouTube.
you haven't even rolled up your sleeves yet.
No.
Okay, let's go back. I want to. I know that you have to go soon.
I got,
Gotta,
I got like 2 minutes. Make it
I
a
know
little-
you have 2 minutes. Okay, so I want to get really fast. Tell us when your documentary is going to come out. Okay, around about, and then I have one more question for you.
Okay, at the moment we're hoping early December, because at the moment I'm not sure if it's going to happen December. I could be on a tour from Glasgow up in Scotland down to London, like 6 or 7 gyms there, then over to Ireland. So they're hoping that maybe when I'm in England, they're going to rent out a theatre and have the release while I'm there in an actual big theatre with fans and that, and there'll be the release of it then. So, and then I think then it's either going to be on Amazon or Prime or one of those things when it comes out.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. I can't wait to watch it. Seriously. I've been excited since I started seeing the previews. All right. So last thing, I want you to have the final words. What do you want to say to your fans and your followers and anything else that you want to share?
I just want to say thank you, because I've always had, like I said, loyal fans, because I've always been myself. So I know they've stuck by me because they either like me because of my bodybuilding or just the way I talk or the way I am. So, you know, when I was at a gym opening a couple of weeks ago, not opening, but a birthday, I'm amazed by so many fans who they wouldn't have been born when I retired. I mean, like 16, 17-year-olds who, we look up to you, because I think due to maybe the Trend Twins or Sam Sulek being my fans, that brings them over to me. So I'm amazed I have such a big young following still of fans, and I'm 52, so I could be their father. So I just want to thank them more on that. But in general, I just want people to be nice to one another. That's all. Just be nice. And I've always said it, if you've got friends and family out there, send them a text message, let them know you're thinking of them, because they're not going to be there forever. One of my friends was down at the gym 2 weeks ago, like Jackson, you know, Jackson.
I do. I've messaged
I
him.
was with him like 2 weeks ago, and we did some videos together at that gym, and then he looked healthy, 30 years old, has a heart attack. So you never know when your time's up. So like I said, we go online, we talk shit back and forth to people we don't even know, but yet the people who mean the most of it to us, sometimes we go days without even messaging people who mean the most of us. So if you have friends and family around, just send them a quick message every day just to let them know, and then go back online and argue with the dickheads.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Lee.
You're welcome.
This has been great. Don't go anywhere. I want to say goodbye to you on the flip side. And to everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great show. I know that we're going to have Lee back, right?
If I'm allowed, if your producers,
Yeah, of course.
if your producers say he can come back.
Of course. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you there.